Yeah, it's been a long. We got.
Thank you all for showing up. We'll call our meeting to order here. And I just want to thank you for the investment in time and effort and you sharing your expertise with us. We're concerned about obviously what happens in our city, and emergency preparedness is something that we have been talking about and working on for a while. So I wanted to just start off by letting everybody, we'll just go around and the table, and I know that you guys have had a chance to chat, but let's just briefly introduce ourselves so that we know who we are, and if you have any comments or interests or whatever, just please put them on the table.
So I'm Dustin Kinsley with the City of Sky Valley, safety coordinator for the city.
Well, terrific. Judge, when you say safety coordinator, what does that mean to you? What do you do?
So I deal with all the making sure we have all the personal protective equipment and all of our classes are done, our safety classes, and everything's up to date for grants and whatnot.
Okay. Very, very good. Well, thank you for that.
Jason Street, I'm manager here of the city.
You do pretty much everything.
Yes, I was trying to say that eloquently, yes.
Well, I'll back you up on that if anybody asks.
I'm Dee Gary, and I'm just a citizen for the most part. I work at the Sky Valley Country Club, and I've been there for 10 years, so I have I've been here a while, so I've seen a lot of changes, and I hope to help out as best I can.
Law enforcement background.
Oh yeah, I have that too, yeah. Thank you. I was a deputy out in Los Angeles. It was a real riot.
That's almost as good as Quack Chief?
Ron Bonus, chief of police up here at Sky Valley, been here since 2011.
Kirsty Beasley, Black Sheep City Council.
Good girl.
Drea Chiretti. Background wise, I lived in Los Angeles, I lived in San Francisco, did a lot of emergency preparedness for those cities from a marketing perspective, believe it or not. Background wise, I live on Boca Court, in Portland, I should say, and have a lot of interest in helping the city council. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Can I say we're firefighters at the still
Grumpy.
Chief Grumpy or just
Yes.
Yeah.
Chief and Chief Grumpy?
Rita Thomas, I live at, on Pleasant Mountain. We've been here for 7 years. And I have a background in hospitals. I worked in the trauma unit in New Hampshire for 10 years. I was at Dartmouth Medical Center, with the helicopter program, drove ambulances, was part of a volunteer ambulance service. So.
Well, thank you for being here. You obviously can bring a lot of your experience and background into what we do here. Did you guys get a copy of, I sent you some stuff out.
There's somebody on the Zoom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Matt.
Matt, I got your message and I appreciate you being on Zoom, and I forgot all about the fact that you were sitting there. Would you introduce yourself and say hello?
You're muted.
Yeah. Sure. You can't hear you. Press the space bar.
You hear us, Matt?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Hello?
Yep, gotcha.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Matt Davidson. I'm joining you from Atlanta today at home. Unfortunately, I have a doctor's appointment in the morning, so I couldn't make the trip up and back, but we live up 454 Winding Ridge, just on the other side of 246, and been there for going on 14 years. And I am retired. I retired after 31 years for the Federal Court of Appeals, the 11th Circuit, headquartered here in Atlanta. And one of my duties, probably not my favorite, but one of those was serving as the emergency preparedness coordinator for our support offices and the offices of 18 federal judges and their staff. So it was quite a challenge.
Well, thank you too for being here. We can certainly use your expertise and experience in that regard. And so my question is, did you guys get a copy of the thing I sent in? Do you have any questions about what our mission statement is, what we do, what we're about, where we are, what we've done? I don't know if you have seen this or not. I don't think I included it, but this is a document that the city produced in its last council session, and shows some of the headlines about what we discussed and what we were going to do, and what we thought was important. So, would you just pass that around and just, if you guys don't have that, I would like to get a copy of it for you, so as we go along, we'll know more about what we're doing. Obviously, you can't, and this is, in my opinion, I don't think that you can specifically prepare for any and every emergency that might come up. There's a million different possibilities and variations of what can happen in this world. You know, it's a dangerous world out there, so get out there and live in it. But things can happen, and as a general rule for different types of things, we need to be aware of the possibility for those things, and we need to prepare for them in some way, so that we know as we enter into these things, what direction we're going to take, who's going to be responsible, what are we going to do, and that sort of thing. So let's first start with where we are, you know, what we've done, where we think we are. Both chiefs here were very instrumental, and along with Jason in the last session to make sure that we had adequately addressed these issues and looked at them. And by the way, this is our mayor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and I apologize for being late.
No worries. Yeah, we were all involved up there with half moon stuff, both nights. But at any rate, we took a look as an overall look to see what we thought might, you know, eventually happen, and we were sort of in the midst of a fire, you know, or coming right out of that, so we knew some things. But these guys did an excellent job of coordinating. They know what their responsibilities are. They know what they're to do. We've got all kinds of things that you know, that are already in place and on the table, so that when something happens, we can go into that. And from my point of view, and something we might want to talk about is I'm not sure that we specifically said who was going to call an emergency meeting. What do you call it, when you're going to declare an emergency? And it will be, of course, your job as mayor to do that. And I want us to make sure that we have that in our meeting minutes from our council meetings, that we authorize you to do those things and to take certain actions outside of our normal daily business. So if something happened, for instance, and we were under some kind of big, you know, evacuation or whatever, you would have the ability to make some decisions outside of the council that were on an emergency basis. So we want to make sure that we can do that. We probably need to look to make sure that we can specify what those things are in a general way. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that's in that resolution that Jason provided already.
Yeah, they did. But we haven't passed that. We didn't pass that.
No, it's a draft.
Yeah.
But a lot of what you're
Yeah,
saying, he
exactly.
already has in his draft.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So with that being said, I just want to open it up as an informal discussion. We're just going to take this as a committee, you know, as a group of we're just going to talk about things and see what you think and what your questions are. So let's start first with questions. If you have questions about what we've done, what we haven't done, where we need to go, what the objectives are, let's make sure that we're all on the same page.
I think one of the questions I have is around evacuation routes.
Okay.
In particular, you know, I travel all the roads around here. I'm very familiar with the roads. However, a lot of times I've had people come in and being like, hey, I want to get off the Evergreen exit. And you give them very explicit directions and they don't know how to do it.
Thank you.
And
I
so,
don't have to.
Or they get stuck
Or
in
they
the
get stuck.
LaBelle
I
Circle.
practice.
Yeah.
correct. And so I love the fold out, the trifold that was provided, and it's got kind of the different areas. But I think one of the things I was thinking about as we were coming to this meeting is, do we need to color code it? Do we need to do color code routes to say, evergreen is the green evacuation route and provide signs behind it? We did that a lot in Colorado. We did that also in Pennsylvania, as far as knowing that. We did a dot system. And so I'm OCD. So I went in and I actually bought some samples of some of the signage that's available that you can color code. And I thought that might be valuable for us. In other states, what happened was the city would actually have the posts in place for where the corners were. And then if an emergency happened, the city would go and put the signs up so that it was color coded and that there was a route done behind it. So it's just something I was thinking about, especially as I experienced either going up through whatever the back one is by the mailboxes. Yeah, or Evergreen.
Great idea. So they only put the sign evacuations outside under evacuations, they're not out there all the times they get ignored or have to be maintained.
All
Great
that
idea.
happens is the posts are up. We predetermine what are the arrows, and you can do these in all different colors. I think I bought green and red just as an example. And then they're already pre-established based on where it is.
I like the idea of putting them up internally, however, I feel like we have such a fluid resident group. I mean, we've got some coming in now, some coming later, that people are not always here. It might be not a bad idea to leave some form of information up, so that, I know like when in Florida, you always see the evacuation routes for the hurricanes and things like that. And I just feel like, if you know it and you see it all the time, then when there is an actual event, you might actually know how to get out, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to leave something up all the time, just because we don't have, I don't know, we've just got an odd group of people living here.
Well, and to my point earlier, I wasn't kidding when I said I practiced that route, because we had a couple times last year where the road was blocked from the cement trucks rolling over,
Right.
and I couldn't get out, and thankfully, some construction person pulling a backhoe, let me tell you, got out that back way, and I followed them out. They struggled to get out, but they made it. So then after that, I was like, I need to regularly know the other way out.
Yeah.
So to that point, I think having it up so that any of us can remember, this is another way out.
Well, and sometimes there's been so many times when I'm trying to drive into work and there's somebody sitting in the middle of the road, and you'll stop and you'll say, can I help you? And they're just like, I have been driving around in circles for like 20 minutes, because they can't figure out how to get out of that area. And so I'm like, left, just go left, point that way and go left. And if there's no left turn, then you keep going straight, but that kind of thing. And so, I mean, it also might just help people get oriented a little better in some of these areas where it's tough. I know up there on Buttermilk Circle, you can drive around there a few times before you realize, hey, I've seen that house 6 times. And so I feel like it would help us to have just that kind of information, just to use as markers, if you will. And again, it gives people everybody has the same understanding when they see it.
Well, the thing that you might want to be concerned about is that depending on what we're dealing with, you may have to go in a different direction.
Mhm.
So when you put an evacuation route up there for one event, you might have to rethink for another event. If you have a flood, if you have the wildfires coming in, if you have an overturned concrete truck. So I like the idea of them being movable, portable. But,
So the thing is that the way we did it, and you're right, I mean, sometimes the evacuation changes, but if you already have the arrows and you have enough of the arrows, you actually, again, the post is up.
yeah.
And then the city just puts which direction to go.
Uh-huh.
And it just helps people to follow, especially when they're in panic mode, right? Because when the fire was coming last year, there were a lot of people who were panicked. You all experienced it firsthand. right? And when they're in panic, they don't think clearly, and you need to give them extra direction. So just food for thought, and you can have all of these because I bought them.
Chief, would you like to comment on that? I know that you are very familiar with our evacuation routes now, the ones that we've used and how we do it, so.
Yeah, and like you say, it all boils down to where we're trying to keep them away from and where we're trying to get them to, you know, are we going out Broadmoor or Eagle or which gate are we going to use? So they're taking them down and put them up, that just makes sense, yeah. So we can direct them the way we want to go.
So would those go on the street signpost or the speed signpost or?
In past cities, it's been existing posts with an additional post to make sure, because again, from a confusion standpoint, people get confused. And especially to Dee's point in our area, you might be in a certain area and you might need an extra directional.
Because we don't even give directions if somebody's looking for something, I just say follow me. Because you give directions, we'll find out on the
Yes.
but you know, for real, let's just.
In the past, I know that there has been some confusion about getting out the west gate back there on that other side. It seems like you have to drive through somebody's backyard or something to do it. It's confusing for people. So, I did like the idea that we had those signs up, but I just saw, and I know you're aware of this, sometimes the wind blows them over. So having a more permanent way to attach them would be a good idea, I think. And I like those. I like those signs.
They look like they're
Stick them up there.
help, because I mean, a lot of times these are weather events.
Yeah.
So they look like they would be sustainable in a weather event. Whether, I mean, I've read back reading minutes, we've had hurricanes, we've had wildfire, we've had flooding, we've had, you know, like you said, construction issues. So, I mean, there's been a handful of different kinds of things that have hit up here. So I like that those look like they're permanent, not that they are permanent, but they can sustain for a couple of days if they had to be up or whatever. And we do have a unique, to your oddball point, we have tourists, we have elderly, we have young people, we have new people, we have part-time people, we have full-time people. So we do have a whole, we're not dealing with one neighborhood where everybody's very familiar. So when it's easy to get turned around, especially if you're, and that goes to one of the things I'm sure we'll talk about is the levels of communication of making sure we can get to all of those people, because they're not gonna be on our run call system, or they're not gonna be on the city email address if they're a tourist, that kind of thing. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a minute. But I think that's a great idea.
Well, and maybe if we don't wanna leave them up as evacuation routes, we get some signs that say exit this way, or, you know.
That's probably not a terrible
We could use the
idea.
same post.
Right, nothing to do with emergency,
Right,
but this is a general rule for the city. Might be a good plan, yeah.
Well, yeah, possibly, and then maybe also put something on there about know this post because this is where you'll get information for evacuations and stuff like that. I've never seen this before, and I feel like it's something that all of a sudden, I think my email dropped off your email thing too. So I don't get any more emails. And so I need to make sure, I guess that's the other thing, is if we're gonna put stuff up and talk about evacuation routes, people need to be familiar with it, and they need to be provided with this information so they can kind of do what y'all do and just drive around and look and see, okay, so if there's an evacuation route, let me check out what this one is. Because that's what I like to do. I like to check them all out, make sure, I mean, I've driven on all these roads, so I was a realtor for 20 minutes, that kind of.
I think one of the things that we have an opportunity,
Yes,
Chief, I know that you guys are planning a national night out, and that is August 4th, and that is historically a law enforcement kind of thing. But I think we can kind of partner and piggyback with that, and I'm gonna also throw in public works, because the winterization of homes has been a real issue this year, where we have pipes bursting and water issues and things like that. But I think that is a maximum time where everybody that comes to Sky Valley, a lot of times is there. It's a big impact of people that we can capitalize. And I would like to see whatever we take from here, that we be able to do that, because you're gonna have most of the part-timers here. Everybody's gonna be outside. It's mostly law enforcement, but that'll be a great avenue to get the mayor's coffees, you know, it's Sharon's newsletter every week. But once we start getting stuff like evacuation signs and things that come out of today, these evacuation notices and things like that, we need to look for marketing, and I think that may be the area that I feel like we haven't excelled in the past of getting information out. And even if we put some stuff at the club, and we put some stuff at the chapel, and we put some stuff at some of the other high holy churches and stuff, that maybe you'll pick up people somewhere in all of that, because older people love safety stuff. You know, property managers love, vacation rental managers love property, safety stuff. And if we can make the chief's job and the other chief's job and the public works guys easier by having our citizens as empowered or our visitors empowered as possible. So I would really like to, not to put a deadline on anybody, but August 4th would be a great time to launch re-putting these out. We can put them in the water bill all day long, but the water bill only catches so many people, right? It's not catching anybody.
That's a great suggestion, and the pancake breakfast would be a great place.
Exactly. That's another great idea.
Well, that's never gone out, that travel.
Oh.
Oh,
that's
we did that, we just based on.
Oh, okay, there you have it.
No, it's never been sent out.
Okay.
Look at that.
But when I moved up here, they actually gave me, our real estate agent gave us the evacuation routes. I don't know who did it.
Realtors is another great idea.
Yeah, so our real estate agent gave it, but it was not that map. It was actually, each one was separate. And I have it upstairs in the loft is the emergency list. It was really helpful, because then you saw it. And the other thing that I did is, because I'm OCD, I took the big, map that we have of the city that has all the lots in it, and I just did it that way too, to visually see it.
So whatever you determine that we're gonna, any products of this committee, I think that's a fantastic opportunity.
See you guys, I gotta go. Emergency repair.
Bye-bye. Be safe. That anything that's a product out of this, that's a good opportunity to launch it, and then we have enough time to do that. And then 4th of July celebrations, I mean, I'm gonna be short notice, but.
And the routes at the golf club too, like, there's a lot of people who visit the golf club and probably might not go to the country club. But they're visitors, it might be rentals, a lot of people think they're renting to play golf.
Or even just the day golfers, that's what they happens, they still need to be able to.
That's an excellent point.
To get, information. I can make sure that if we create one clear document, that we have those marquee boards outside the pro shop and in the clubhouse. And I know they put them at the post office, and other places have marquee boards. We should get one on a board everywhere, just so people can look at it when they pause to stop. When they stop to look at the menu at the club and they look at this, they're gonna be like, what the heck is that? So we got your spaghetti on today. Because it's really hard to read, because it's really small, but we could make one that's a full size. And then we can look at it and they can at least get familiar, start getting familiar. So I love this document, Tony. I think this is a great starting point. And just because we do it one year and we learn that we missed something, we can always add another addition or whatever. But I think the same with the resolution that Jason had. I want to see us get something on the board, and that I want to get a resolution passed that says our city has an emergency management plan. I want to get this passed and say we have that, and then we can always tweak. We can always improve, we can always edit and evolve, but I wanna make sure that at every council meeting, when we say winterize your home, watch your pipes, we can also say, hey, it's brush fire season, hey, it's freezing pipe season, hey, it's, rainy season or whatever, that we reinforce every opportunity we get as a city, and then the integral parts of the city at the club and the chapel and the pancake, the POA. I mean, let's just pump it through all of them. So I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, I think everybody's got fantastic ideas, and none of this is,
Yeah, if this was bigger and we had it posted places, we could also say at the bottom, snap a picture. Because your phone, then it's on, everybody has a phone, snap a picture, and you can zoom on what you want.
And I don't know if you guys, Sharon did create that for you all,
oh, it's great.
so, yeah.
Well, the last council we worked on it as a group, but yeah, and that's just a draft. That was-
I know, but it's great, and I think, we definitely could do some stuff, and then I think, like, this QR codes that takes you to the larger evacuation routes.
Right.
Where, cause you said, I can't read that, but the evacuation routes and whatever, and I know this is such a huge thing, I was a nurse for 20 years and also lived on the condo, lived on the beach, and we ran a management company. And so we had very specific evacuations every year for hurricane season and all that kind of stuff. So we could get 700 people ready. We knew what we were doing. I mean, it was like clockwork. And so it starts with this right here. So this is great. So great job, y'all. I know y'all have already done all the heavy lifting, and the prior council just didn't get across the finish line because they ran out of time or whatever. So I don't think any of this is gonna be a heavy lift to get there.
One thing with the QR code though, and we were talking about before you got here, is the phone access.
That's true.
So we need it, that's why we need printouts that they can take a picture of. QR code's great where they can get it, but we don't have internet access in
That's very
a
true.
very large portion of.
Right, and remember last year, I mean, we had a pretty big outage in Verizon where we didn't have
Right.
anything for a day.
That's true.
Well, and if there's an emergency, that's not
Common.
And that's one of the questions I had.
unexpected to
I'm
occur.
kind of jumping around, Tony. That's one of the questions I have, Jason. Did you already establish in prior councils, like emergency command center places? So if the internet's down and people are looking for information, do they know where to go get it?
Well, yeah, we did. We established the city hall as the first choice. For information, come here for information, whatever you need, you know, and we even would have supplies. We could hook you up with a portable generator if, you know, the emergency. just-
Did you have a backup plan in case you couldn't get to city hall? Because it's
Well,
kind of,
yeah, and that was the other thing, you know, we talk about where are the other opportunities? Well, there aren't any. The club is one.
in chapel, what about the chapel?
The fire department.
Yeah,
Fire department.
Yeah.
Fire department.
and that's our other big backup, is off property, it's over there. So, yeah, we absolutely did talk about that.
The club and the chapel, I think, because they're centrally located and people know mostly where that is. The fire department, I think, is also, I know we have access to it, but do a lot of, you know, tucked away.
This fire department or the state?
Oh, I thought you were talking about this one.
No,
No, the little one,
The little one.
if you don't have electricity for a week, though, that fire department would be saving grace with the
Yeah.
And
shelter.
they've done that before, where they were a shelter,
Yes.
for a shelter.
They did that.
But just like command centers, do we set up, Jason, and I know you talked about walkie-talkies too at one point, because the communications went down.
Yeah, we don't have.
We do.
we don't-
Push the call.
I did,
These phones here work on different
Yeah.
bandwidth than like Verizon.
So those go through the tower.
So I do want you all to remember that when we have a problem, we don't have any employees down at the country club anyway. So the country club is closed and because we were looking at that during the ice storm and it was actually closed at the time. So looking at that as an alternative.
But I wonder, like, what we did with, in same with the chapel, there are people that live in Sky Valley that have key to the chapel, and I happen to have the code for the front door of the club. If you could have an agreement with them, almost like a mutual aid agreement kind of thing, where, or an understanding agreement with them, obviously you get consent for them, but in a event of emergency, will the country club board of executives let the chief open up that as an emergency? Will they let, one of the chapel people, they have keys to the building that live in Sky Valley, will they, and then under the event of emergency, let the chief let them in, or one of the police department, fire department do that, or the mayor or something like that? I bet you could get them to agree to that.
Yeah, and.
As long as you're willing to, vacuum afterward.
Right. I
Well,
think
that's
so too.
one of the great things about having our regular fire department available to us up in Scaly Mountain is that, in a situation where, power's out for a long, long time, like, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. They have a wonderful center there.
They do.
And we can, we can send our people over there to take advantage of it, and because we're associated with them.
If you can get there, that's,
Yeah, obviously that.
that's what I'm worried, because like during Helene, we live up on Overlook, and, all of the lowlands were flooded, so we couldn't have gotten out if we had tried. Now, we were up high, and we're fine, but we could have walked down through the country, we could have gotten to the chapel, we could have gotten to the country club, but we could not have gotten out by car.
Yeah, we have at times at the country club, it's been flooded all along there. And so nobody could even get to the country club,
So
but I
maybe that's not even
believe
a good
that you guys have managed that so well, because even when we had a tremendous rain, it was still passable.
Yeah, we were aware of that. two solutions to that problem. One was to replace the bridge, and the other was to build, Greenwood. I-975.
Right.
But to build off of what you said, where it wasn't passable, part plan is, and I'm sure you guys have it, where they've got ATVs and there's a dispatch that happens to get the people back to the evacuation center. So I just think we also have, I'm sure you have that in yours.
Are you?
No, we have ATVs.
We have the
Yeah. But I'm sure you have that in your plan.
And one thing too is to alert people early, because I mean, if you have a medically fragile mom living up here by herself, I mean, I'd like to think we can help everybody, but we can't, so we have to make sure that the acknowledgement of you may have to evacuate, you may not have electricity for a week, you may not have all these things, so it kind of puts it on, make a plan, what do, you know, what is your family plan?
So speaking of alerts, that was one of the things I have on mine. So last time, thank you, chief, for making yourself accessible, but I'm here and I'm attached to every Facebook page in a 30-mile radius. So I saw and was aware of that, but there were people I knew who were not, who were right across the street from me. And I was texting them saying, here's the chief's number, send him, let him know you're here, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So how do we get more information out to people, about if we have to evacuate? We weren't here during the fire, although we had a car here packed, ready for somebody to drive out with our personal belongings if needed. But, I heard that it was the police driving up and down the streets saying to people, you might have to evacuate, or they were stopping the police saying, how will we know how to evacuate? And so I think there's some of that with the rentals, the short term, the part-timers, how we have a better way of communicating with people to say.
And what we've talked about with the short-term rentals is before, the owners have that responsibility to share that information. And it might not be, that I mean, it should be posted, because Ken wanted it definitely posted, where you're looking at your owner, your street address, so that because you wake up in the middle of the night with a heart attack, you're not gonna go, let me get that VRBO contract out. So that kind of information is all there, but we couldn't, there's no way for us to reach 75 people who are,
But if you put in that same posting, right? If you're here and, you know, most people know if there's a hurricane coming or there's fire in the valley, you know, that type of stuff. This is who you contact and let the city know you're here.
I did that.
Oh, I'm saying, I'm not questioning what you did, I'm saying, in the posting, in the short-term rental,
Oh, yes.
if they added that to it to say, if you're here and these types of things are going on,
It's on that.
please make sure the city knows you're here.
We supply a sheet like that,
Is
but
that
that
on
part is not on there about what, it's all that, if you need help, call these people.
Well, that might be
But we
something
might
to
add
add.
something on there about,
And add the picture of the evacuation routes and stuff.
A bigger picture.
yeah.
But I think you raise a different point too, right? We can't always rely on the police driving around. So, you know, usually you've got the block captain structure from a communication standpoint, right? So just to use an example up by us, when Helene hit and when Verizon went out, I went out and bought 5 walkie-talkies so that we can actually communicate within our region.
I wish you lived next door to me.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I wish you lived next door to me.
Just so that, yeah, I'm good at certain things. Other things not so much. But just to communicate, but it goes back to block captains, because you can't be driving around all the time, right? If there's an emergency or something else. So do we have the block, I beg your pardon?
They'll have a lot of
Right.
demands.
So do we have the block captain structure?
It's been talked about, Ron divided the city into quadrants, I think.
Yeah, we've got it divided into zones, 4 zones, and I was just trying to find one person for each of the zones and was having a very difficult time.
Nobody wants that responsibility.
Yeah.
Take on that task.
Because 4 zones seem pretty, that seems like a pretty big area, given our pieces, so that also could be part of the piece. So I think it's something we should consider longer term, as far as how can we structure it, like, is it 8, is it 4, what is the right number that we have? And then also, I don't know if we've got a density piece, as far as we know up by you that, you know, 12 of the houses are empty and 3 are full-timers type deal, because that density population piece is really important too for us to know. And it kind of goes back to when you ask, are you in or whatever else, but having a density population map where you're seeing, hey, most of these people are full-time, these are part-time or summer-timers.
Spread out, I can't think of any area I could say is more than another, you know.
Yeah, on Sharon's when you were doing that report, like the other thing we can ask is, you know, how often do you go out? And then we just kind of code it on the big map of like, hey, green is full-time, yellow is summer, whatever, however we color code it, and then we can see, yeah. Because the Appalachian emergency preparedness piece talks a lot about mapping for the cities, as you're part of your emergency preparedness. They talk about mapping the greatest threat for fires, the greatest threat for flooding, the greatest threat of where you've got a concentration of people who have medical issues, et cetera, and they talk a lot about that.
Interesting.
It's the Appalachian mapping plan, it's actually kind of interesting.
It would be a very good idea to have understanding of, and maybe even split it up into more than 4. And then even within that 4, that they have little sub people that are gonna help within every area, because it is a bit overwhelming, and that's probably why you're not having much luck. It's quite overwhelming. And it's a lot to know. You might be in an area where, like, I used to be the only full-time person living on my road. Well, now there's a few more, thankfully. I mean, as time goes by, it has, COVID was good to us that way. But I do feel that, we do need to have understanding of the people, our neighbors, and who's there, who's fragile, who's got these health issues, those health issues, who needs immediate medicine, who doesn't, things like that, and how to get that kind of stuff out there so people know. Because when there is a big fire and someone gets trapped, that can be very bad.
We had talked about in a previous meeting like this, we had talked about identifying individual people who were particularly vulnerable, and trying to make sure that somebody would contact those people. Have we made any progress on that, you know? Yeah, and all of this was going on late last fall, prior to the election, so we weren't
Nothing's
sure.
been sent out
Yeah,
any further,
yeah.
because it kind of, yeah.
But you put some of the questions on your trifold. Right, yeah, so some of the questions are on the trifold, but I think we have to give them instructions of, hey, fill this out, because it's not real clear on there. Fill this out and give it back to the city, or email, or we could do a form fill even to the email
I like that.
campaign, like.
I like that too, but the citizens aren't really responsive to that.
So
Well,
it's still
that's
we
really
do, yeah.
a place to hit some of that.
We could include, see, that kind of information in those meetings that we have, like at the pancake breakfast and at the other places, to make sure that people, you know, there's so many people come and leave and you don't know who they are.
Exactly.
They don't ever.
That's very true.
Well, and you don't know if they fill out the paper and give it to a neighbor. You don't know what they do when they leave with that information.
Right.
So it'd be nice if there was a reporting, like, if you give this to your neighbor, let us know, kind of thing. However, it's nice that you can provide them with a form that has all this important information on it. And then, you know, and just suggest that they share it with the people nearby so that everybody can be aware in any locale of each other's vulnerabilities.
Did you say we have like, that you started like a registry where people could say, hey, you know, like the lady lives down the street from us, they're housebound. 2 elderly people that live there full time, they're housebound. Is there, like she was suggesting, not she, Treya, I'm sorry, suggesting that there was some kind of registry that you can voluntarily opt in and say, hey, I just want to be on the radar in case of something. Do we have something?
We have something like that with police now, but that's just more of a, I'm fragile, but not very many people respond, because I don't know if they don't want to admit they're fragile, or they think my neighbor will take care of me, or I've got my son in Miami. You know, it's a hodgepodge of people we're trying to get to, and technology is not always the best way to do that. So the pictures of maps is a great idea. I do like that.
But let's use the POA breakfast as an example. The POA breakfast would be a highly technical term. There's a greeting desk already there because they've got to pay. You've done a desk there where we've got the city hall swag, right? Swag. What if we just did an emergency preparedness desk there?
Well, and you do. You just keep pushing it and have you talk to your neighbor about this, and can you take an extra run and just you hit them everywhere you can with it.
But we can also do the forms there with like a ballot box and say, hey, in order to prepare for emergency preparedness, will you take 5 minutes and fill this out and just drop it in this box and then it comes back to you?
city council meetings have been very well attended lately, so we can always bring them here too. So I'm serious when you say stuff like that, and even on the recording, so it's a good way to keep, again, I think there's not gonna be one or two answers, I think we're gonna have to come at it 5 and 6 different ways, and even like you said, even if you don't have a permanent block captain, neighborhood watching kind of person or whatever, that even if they just do our campaign the week of National Night Out, maybe that we go, because I know your officers went door to door at one point, dropping off that kind of information. Maybe it's an opportunity to say, hey, y'all, we're a community and we need to really get back to being, knowing our neighbors. So, hey, you know, you go down and you knock on 5 doors in your street, and hey, you go down and knock on 5 doors in your street and say, hey, I'm just your neighbor, I'm part of the city council, and they're doing this campaign, you know, the police department's information here, the fire department's here, you know, I'm not here all the time, but, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it's the door-to-door kind of campaigning. Maybe we do it for politics, I mean, we can do it, the police department did it, we can, I think you could divide it up to where everybody took a street or 5 houses, and it wouldn't be that big of a lift, and it's all keep reinforcing it every place else.
And people might be more open to it with the thought of a fire last year, right? So they might be more open to it. Explain why.
Right.
Like, we're in a drought situation right now. Somebody throws a cigarette out and we're
on that came
in trouble. So, yeah, so I think, you know, they might be more open to it if they're understanding why, we're not trying to get into your biz, but we wanna make sure you're safe if there's a fire, if there's, I don't know what else really, I'm trying to think more, but.
We used to have that, do we still have that one call system? Is it one call? I mean, I haven't gotten a phone call and one call, which is, I usually just get it over board water, which speaks to the water being great. But do we use it at all anymore?
If we need it.
But we just haven't had anything that's come up.
Or Raven, Raven does more.
I got one out of Raven.
Yeah, Raven does a
911.
lot. Yeah, the 911 red alerts.
I didn't get that before.
There was an accident.
When the accident.
441.
Yeah.
How is that? Yeah, but you should still get it if
Still
you
should
sign
have a
up.
call.
But it's not from us, it's from.
It's from Raven, yeah, so we've got an and, which is good.
So we send out stuff emergency email, we send, I know you're gonna ask him, emergency email and the one call, and then we post stuff on Facebook. Those are, I mean, we have something like a boil water or emergency. Those are the 3 venues that we have right now.
And then there's the signs that they put up
The bulletin boards at the post office and bulletin boards at, where does Jim all do? We have bulletin board here, bulletin board up at the post office, and that may be the only ones.
Sometimes you put it at the city, at the club too.
Well,
And then there are the in-ground signs
Oh, yeah.
that happen in certain areas.
I mean, I feel like,
I was just saying, when Holly was mayor, we talked about trying to go with some digital billboards, like one at the post office, probably put one out here.
No, I'm sorry, that was a citizen voting. It's not like digital here because it doesn't fit in, but that's just.
I mean, the post office is, I mean, it's already.
Electrified, we can do everything there. Yeah.
oh, the pavilion would also make a good meeting point too, because you're gonna have to go and see stuff with it.
Yeah, can you hear what we're doing?
Yeah,
Chime in anytime you
All
have something.
all right. No, I'd be glad to know about been there 14 years since we live on the other side of the road. I don't even know I know about the Evergreen entrance, but I wouldn't know how to go about finding it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a problem. We probably ought
It is.
to do something with that.
Yeah.
And you know, what you mentioned is good too, because I know a lot of times, because it's such a dense population over here, we forget about you guys over there. You
Right.
know? Yeah. So we need to work on that.
And then the other thing too is when we had the really big fire that was coming up the hill by your house, Evergreen wasn't open. And so the hill was shut down, so they also told us to go up War Woman. And in fact, with 441 with the accident, they were taking people up War Woman as well. So just food for thought, we may want to also have War Woman as an option for us.
Is there a place up where, and speaking of.
Hill Ridge, War Woman.
Kind of being like that, is there a place up in Marvin where it could be like a bulletin board posted? You know, just kind of a community access.
We probably
Wouldn't that
mount
be
it to
big?
like the well house at the entrance.
Right,
And we have definitely tried to be more aware of Lyman Ridge. I know, we got we had an Independence Day in the Fall Fest that we reminded that we need to make sure they have signage and decorations, so we have tried to do better with that. I mean, that would be the logical place to put a static multi-area. Well, that first row house is right there when you first go up.
Like the Sinclair station.
No, I'm talking about Winding Ridge.
Winding Ridge there. Okay.
There's the first row house is near the road, as you climb the hill. Everybody has to go past it. There's no houses.
Wasn't that where you put the signs up too, for boil water and stuff? But I've seen signs over.
Yeah.
Typically near the end, on 246, near the entrance.
Yeah. It's actually helpful though to have it there because people are coming up, they see it, they see it.
We have those reusable signs,
Yeah.
whether, winter weather advisory or, start planning now.
Yeah.
The thing about the one call, I just want to add, one of the downsides of that is we have to have your phone number to add you. And we have, usually, I think that's like if somebody calls in, I don't think they always do it, but I don't always take all the calls, but I know a lot of times when I talk to somebody I've never talked before, if they're a resident, I might say, hey, we have all your contact information, and I'll take it down there at the end. But it's kind of been a voluntary thing. I mean, we just automatically add somebody's number. We do. Okay.
But we also put it on here, make sure you're registered with one call, make sure you're registered with the city emails, make sure you're getting up to date information. So you can probably add that on here.
Would it be hard to do a mail out where you send information and ask them to mail it back? Where you send them information on how to get into all of those different notifications. And then also we'll get more information, like all the information we're seeking about vulnerabilities that people have in different locations and just something like that. I mean, I can understand people would feel like it's an infringement on their private information. You don't need to know what I'm doing, kind of stuff, because there's a lot more of that these days. However, this does have a big picture application, and we do need to understand what the body is.
We can certainly do it, but there's no reason we can't do that.
It's getting the information back, that's still always a problem, but at least we're making our best efforts to get it out.
Right, and then you might get more information than you didn't have before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just another
And
option.
the other thing is it changes all the time, so it's always fluid, so you never know if you're up to date.
There's a portal for, I think it's for water bill or something, there's a new portal. Is there any city portal that like I could log, I know not everyone's technical savvy, but to your point,
Right,
where I could log in so that if my phone number changed, I get into my city portal, I see that you have my information, I see that you know I'm full-time versus part-time versus short-term rental, and oops, my phone number changed, I need to update it.
right.
Is there anything like that?
I don't know, Summer, I can go get her real quick, but as far as I know, if that's not there, because
Because I don't know if you have me for one call, I think you probably do, but I don't know, but if there is
something,
something.
we've got to expand our plan, because we can't purge old numbers, because we don't know which ones are old numbers.
Right, exactly.
Oh, that's a good point.
We have tried to use that one call, I don't say sparingly, but it's kind of like the boy who cries wolf, if you do it too much. It just becomes, it's almost like science stuff year round. So that's always a tough decision, is this something that's at a level that we need to do the one call, but certainly fires and weather event, yeah.
Of course.
Or even, so you could do a test on it, right? Because there should be tests on the systems. So you could do a test on it to say, National Night Out on August 4th, this is a test. If you don't want to receive these from Sky Valley, let us know, or, something like that. But you
Type
could,
stuff.
yeah, right, yeah.
It just seems like we have this ability to manage all this information, that to utilize the website would be really beneficial if there was, like you said, some link on that website where people could go in and see that they're all updated and fix it if they need to, where they can fix it So that now you don't have to pay someone to sit there and you do the data entry.
Well, and you also don't feel like somebody else, other than the city,
Right.
is seeing your confidential information.
Right.
But then
Because
we also,
oh, go ahead, no, that's good.
I was gonna say, but then we also cross-reference it off the POA directory, because the POA directory, everybody fills that out every year.
We don't, because we're not part of the POA.
I know, but I'm just saying for the city, could we ask the POA to provide that to the city to do a cross-reference? That's all I'm asking, it's just another, way to,
The mayor has a plan to get a directory for the city.
which is good.
The problem is, Q Public is where we would draw from if you didn't say submit anything. And we don't know, Q Public does not allow for us to run a report for only residential addresses. You know, we wouldn't want to care about your property lot.
Right.
But so it's almost impossible, some are still working on it, to figure out, because we can easily say, I'm going to put whatever's in Q Public, whether you say anything or not, because it's public information. But the only thing there is their address and their name.
And it could be in an
So there's no
LLC.
email, there's no phone number, we still have the template that POA provided, we can use theirs. But it's, I haven't put it out there because we don't know how we will back it up. Yeah, if you send me your stuff, I'll have it, but then everybody else on your street doesn't, and I wouldn't, you know.
But I think it goes back to, is there a form or something else that we can put on the website to drive it? Right, and there was something that you said earlier that isn't in here, but maybe it's something that seasonality is, fire preparedness sheet, winterizing sheet, right? A, tornado sheet, where we just have them for those seasons, especially, you also, the drought, that, at whatever time, we have those, we have them in all the different locations, and again, we provide them to the real estate agents, we provide them to,
Vacation managers.
whatever.
But you can even have the sheets on the website, so that
Yeah.
if somebody, when I moved here, I didn't buy from a realtor. I didn't even know where the garbage was. I had no idea about anything in the city, and I had to figure it out for myself. And it was very frustrating, because I had a lot of garbage. But to me, that would be, almost like a welcome wagon package is what the real estate officers will give you, but if you don't go through a realtor, then it makes it more difficult, and.
Well, we have a package, but if you don't come in here, to me,
Well, at
that's
that
a
time,
good.
here didn't exist.
Well, I'm saying
Yeah,
though, here isn't here now, but if I may do everything online, I would never get that packet, because we physically hand them that.
But see, that's the thing, that if somebody misses that,
Yeah.
they can at least say, well, let's see, City of Sky Valley, you type in, search City of Sky Valley, and now that information can become available. If they just look on the website, so having all that information available on the website is gonna be very beneficial, because a lot of people are presently trained to go to their computer and try to look up how to get through the evacuation routes, how to do these things, what's going on.
That's true.
It's just a new section, it's called emergency preparedness on the website.
Yeah, right, it's a tab. We don't have we don't have a Sky Valley app, right? It could be an app too, or a tab on an app. So it's just a tab. I know, Toby, that in the spirit of timeliness, that you're probably gonna wanna wrap up, but I have two more things I was gonna just throw out really quickly. One of them is, at some point, I know that the fire department and the police department do mock drills. Do we ever want to do some sort of, like you said, test the system, a mock drill of something, a mock something where maybe not the whole city participates, but we do part of the city that participates and other people just are made aware of it? Hey, what's going on with them? They're doing a mock evacuation or something like that. That was one of mine. And then the other thing, this is kind of an aside, but I would love to see us get involved. They are doing the 4th annual First Responders Appreciation Dinner, August 28th. And Sky Valley kind of gets overlooked. And so I'm trying to represent us more appropriately that, first of all, it's at the Civic Center. It's free to all first responders and their families. They get to come and eat for free. And they get to go into a raffle, and they are first responders, so they're raffling off guns. So don't want to get crazy on me about that. Also, they're part of the fundraiser for that, and they are trying to develop scholarships to encourage young people to go in to law enforcement. So there's recruitment. So they're trying to work toward that they do raffles for other public to do that. And then if they're on duty, then I will come deliver their meals to them if they're on duty from that day. So I would like to see if the city would like to sponsor us, Sky Valley, and make a contribution, if that's not a possibility, I would like to see all of our first responders either attend or know they're invited.
We all.
Yeah, and then I personally, or some of the council, or some of this committee would like to be the volunteers that would bring these meals up to us. A Thursday night. It's longstanding. It was originally created because of a daughter that was lost in an accident. The first responders were awesome and they honored her. And so now it's kind of evolved. They've got their 501(c)(3). They're trying to take it to a better level. Like I said, tap it into scholarships and support for injured officers or all first responders. They've now included nurses. So I would love to see a sponsorship kind of opportunity for us, even if we just get behind it as the emergency prepared committee. I'd like for this committee to stand like the other mayoral committees stand, where this committee actually does something, is visible to the community, that we represent emergency preparedness to our neighbors and stuff like that. And I think this would be a great opportunity. So I'd love for us to see that. And that's August 28th. It's a Thursday night. So I'd love to see Sky Valley as a city or as a committee participate in honoring the first responders. And it's all Raven County. And that's another thing. I'd love for us to, we're gonna be in the emergency, share resources with, like the mayor's done before, where we've had, city, county emergencies, where we partner with these other resources, that I want us to continue those kind of relationships where it's all first responders, it's all one big pack family.
What, I guess that raises a question though, above and beyond that, is there a committee for Diller? Is there a committee for Clayton? Is there a committee for Mountain City where we should host everybody together up here and have coffee or something else?
She would know.
Right? I mean, that we could then have coffee and.
She would know.
You,
No idea.
Yeah, there
ask
are,
your other mayor buddies.
the rest of the county is very well organized in emergency response. I know you know that, Chief, and
Yes.
they have contacts and they have things. We could certainly probably get involved in some of their events or whatever. So it's available to us if we just want to do it.
Even if we're flies on the walls, just to hear what they're
Yeah.
doing and report back.
And the Raven County Emergency Management Authority has coordinates everything. So reaching out to him, his name, would help you all with that.
And we can send a representative to attend, I know in the emergencies you attend, but on that, when they meet like now, off season or whatever, non-emergency, you can send your chairman or some of your representatives down to go attend those things.
Ryan, so.
Penal, that's right, thank you.
Yeah.
And I know the chief has a couple of points that he wants to bring to you.
That was it.
As well.
Yeah, and you're already aware, and Tony, Jason, we talked about the flock system at the work session. And that would be the flock camera system. That would, it would really enhance our abilities we could see what's going on. It not only that, but it alerts us if there's a nat child, if there's a stolen vehicle.
It's license plate readers.
License plate reading cameras. Yeah.
I can tell you didn't know, license plate reading cameras.
Yeah. And if you Google, you'll see, all the great things.
Flock is a brand
that
name.
it does, yeah.
It worked perfectly when we didn't have our car registered down in Canton.
Yeah, that's
We were
not,
like, how did you see that? That sticker was like, oh, my camera immediately.
Yeah,
picks
we
up.
did alerts. all
While
the
he
time.
was investigating, I was registering our car.
Yeah.
So-
So there's so many much better
Yeah.
things that it does than.
Well, and there's so much traffic here that.
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
All it takes is
So are we-
one lost person we find, by that camera, it's already paid for.
Are we going forward with it?
That's what I'm asking the committee to discuss.
The chief is bringing this to us so that we could recommend it as a committee to the council to adopt it. Council's already heard it, they're already familiar with it, and I didn't hear any real objections from it.
No, it came up to me after saying.
It's not all that expensive. I mean, it's not free, but it's not all that expensive. I mean, it's something that we certainly afford to do.
And I'm looking for grants to help pay for it. They're out there. It's just a matter of getting them.
And you proposed 5 cameras, right?
Yeah, and right now it's back down to 4 because we're having a hard time on the evergreen camera, but me and
Because it's
Jason, we're talking.
Solar.
Yeah, and there might be a way we can open that up, so I'm gonna get them to physically come out here and meet me and stand there and look, and why can't we fix this? We can.
And all the neighboring counties, so the at the planning retreat, he did a whole presentation and the guy from the flock cameras.
Mhm.
And you're basically proposing 4 to 5 cameras.
Mhm.
We put them at the entrance coming and going. They read license plates. They don't look in your car.
No, it's
They're,
not patient.
they get alerts though from the neighboring counties if somebody's bad guys going through there or
I have
missing.
access to all the surrounding cameras.
Missing
When you go
senior.
down, there's a camera right down at 246 and 441. If you look when you go down, you'll see.
Oh, that's at the,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have access to all the cameras from South Carolina. So it's all like a joint thing where everybody works together to try to
Shared information.
share the information and help.
And the information is kept separately from all kind of other information, and it's purged every 30 to
30
90
days.
Every
Yeah,
30
yeah.
days.
And I've only got access to, well, the officers do. I mean, it wouldn't be shared with the public because that's a bit.
One of the benefits that I heard you talk about was, you talk about those, what do they call those alerts for the kids?
Yeah.
We're talking about the silver alert for elderly people
Yeah,
who have
exactly.
driven off or something on their way home. You can find them.
there's been a couple of those in.
Yeah, well, we found them up here. We found one lady in South Carolina at the mall and she'd been missing all day, but she was tracked with the camera and that's how we found her.
So where would the 4 places be? Here?
2 out here, 1 for each direction,
Oh, okay.
2 at the resort entrance for each direction, or at the city limits, basically, to get. And then I was trying to get one on Evergreen, and that covers the resort, it covers Winding Bridge, we've got it, the whole city.
I was
Pretty well mapped
getting,
out.
if you need my property, if you need my property.
But it's solar, so that was what I was
Right.
saying, they're struggling with, because they're solar operated.
Yeah.
However, they're rentals, so they repair them and maintain them. So you basically 18 grand the first year, 16 grand after that.
Yeah.
And that's unlimited access for them, unlimited storage for them, that kind of thing. And the 30-day window that they keep the data is enough to file some kind of charges. So like a girlfriend of mine, her husband was stalking her ex-husband, and they picked him up and was prosecuted through the license plate reader.
Yeah.
They could prove he was in her neighborhood. So I mean, it has endless uses
Oh, yeah.
for law enforcement. It gives him this,
Google it, you'll see.
it gives him
Amazing.
an enormous amount of more coverage. If they're over here dealing with one thing, one officer on duty or whatever. So it's a huge tool for them.
I mean, you think about it, if we had to hire 2 more full-time officers, it's gonna cost a whole lot more than what we're paying.
Absolutely.
Do we need to do a resolution to take to
Well,
the?
we'll get down, Matt, do you have any input on this? We're talking about the flock camera system where we, it's a tag reader thing, were you able to hear all that?
Yes, I was.
Do you have any comments about it? You have any experience with it?
No, not really. It's kind of all new to me. A lot of what I did was coop planning and continuity of operations. So it was not so much, it was really keeping the court's business going. But what's interesting to me is what you all were talking about earlier is just having zones and maybe color-coded stuff and things like that for an evacuation route or whatever, and assembly places. But I'm just all ears. I'm just listening. I don't know. I'm not privy to what you passed out to the other members today. And I was going to ask you if you could leave me a copy with the city hall. I'll come by there. I may come up there after my doctor's appointment tomorrow.
Okay, absolutely. We'll make sure you get it.
Okay, great. But I'm just listening. So.
Okay.
It seems to me with the secluded nature of Evergreen, you'd need at least a camera out there for sure.
That's my,
Absolutely, yeah.
goal. I don't want that left out, because then it's real simple. They know these cameras are here, they're gonna sneak up Evergreen, so I've gotta solve that, and it's just something we're gonna solve. It's just.
Oh, yeah.
You know where the property is, right? You know where my property is up there.
The heart flag.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you need anything around there, just.
A little curve is what we need to focus.
Where that big rock is right there, I mean, if you go there, there is a lot of sunlight there, so I'm kind of confused of where it goes.
Coming up, it's the first curve I'm talking about right there. We can move some trees.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk to Brooke today. I'll mention that and see what she-
What was your other thing you might forget?
Fines.
Oh, the raising the fines $25 straight across the board, because it's been, like I said, 30 years since that's been done, and we're way behind, and it's just, we need to be more inconsistent with the other agencies around us.
Mine's more.
Traffic citations of any
They
kind.
haven't been raised in 25
Yeah,
years.
it's been, it's the closest we can tell, it's been over that, yeah. So
That's probably not a subject for this committee to work on, but certainly,
As long as it's not meant for me. I tried really hard. Dillard almost got me yesterday. He was way up high.
this goes for. Anybody have anything else? Ideas?
Is anybody absent from the committee? Does everybody?
Yeah, I have Joseph Bowler on here, and I don't know who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
B-O,
not in town. BOWLER.
So Tony, can you start like an email chain with everybody? So
Yeah.
everybody's contact information?
Yeah, I wanna make sure I do. I think I do. Have you all got my emails, right?
Yes.
Matt,
Oh, yeah.
You got my email. I know you did, because you know that too.
No food.
So I'll follow up.
And will you, maybe email the resolution around for suggestions? I have a couple of edits on it, nothing crazy, but I think it's a great starting point. And then I can, upload this stuff to put on just people's radar so they can put it on their calendars and stuff. This is the first responder dinner.
Yeah,
And then do you want to, Sharon, do you wanna make some tweaks to this? So I think this is fabulous.
oh, I'm sure we will.
yeah, we wanna finish that.
Okay, so do you wanna
Absolutely.
put that to do it next time or something? We'll look at that as
I
on
tell you
that.
what I would like to do, is I would like to get a couple of people to work on that.
Okay,
And, to just go ahead and take a look at it, and would you be willing to do that? I know you're busy, but if you'd be willing to do that, that would be very helpful, and if we could just get somebody else to work with you on that, so,
who wants to help me with this?
yeah,
I can help.
All right, Leah. Okay, Leah and Dee and
good.
Sharon, the three of us, let's set a meeting before we leave. So the three of us, because I'm a woman of action. So if I'm doing something, it'll be done by next meeting.
Do we need to try to have those information sheets worked on as well? I like the idea of having a sheet available, a
Put that
tab
on
for
the agenda.
tornadoes, a tab for,
Yeah, and I also, the other idea that came up was, I like the idea of having a link on our website for
Yeah.
emergency,
Sure.
all the information, so that you can go there, post your information on it,
Okay.
We'll
read
do
about
that.
what we've got, what we do, and then we could certainly post, messages, but.
Okay, so Leah, Dee and I will get, before we leave, we'll agree on a time to meet and we will look at those sheets and we will look at edits for this.
okay, those sheets, so I'm asking which needs to come first.
We're gonna do them both.
Well, I just meant the information from the sheets might be important on that. This is the most important piece, but I'm ready to build it.
I know, but we're gonna do it all.
This is.
You didn't know you volunteered for that.
Yes, you did.
And then there
Good
is,
luck, gotcha.
there is an existing somewhere in the files, the evacuation routes, all by section.
Right.
So it already exists somewhere.
I have said.
Also,
I,
Okay.
Yeah, it does somewhere.
We're not.
And then there's a maps now too.
So when somebody does a search for Sky Valley, there's a whole bunch of options that come up. So old websites that you guys,
Oh, that's annoying.
old sites that you had and everything, is there any way to clean that up?
They just need to
So
301
this
it.
is the sites
You just
before
need
I
to
got
301
here.
it.
Like the WW one?
Yeah, but you have to accidentally go there. I mean,
Well, no,
Well, but you said
well,
301
that's
that.
how it was,
Mine all the time.
The-
I don't.
People have the wrong calendars, they look at events.
Just
there's-
301 it, so just redirect. Do you know how to do that?
No, but I have a person who does.
Okay, just 301.
I got a guy.
301 it.
It's probably something like Lawson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much, we looked at doing away with that website, it's
an
It's
archive.
www.skyvalleyga.com, but there's so much information already on there
Well,
that,
and send me the other links, I don't know, but that's the only one I'm aware of, so if you find the older ones.
Yeah, but if we find what the links are, they can run a report. So you run a report of what are all the URLs. And then you basically do a 301, you say for this web address, I want it to go back to this page, or
Yeah.
whatever else.
Just like
And it's
email.
just an Excel spreadsheet, you just map it out.
Okay.
Okay, guys, thank you all. Listen, the one thing,
Can I volunteer for one other thing though, is we decide that we wanna have this printed for the POA. I do the POA breakfast, I make all the breads, I don't know what I'm thinking, but I make all the breads for the POA breakfast, so I'm happy to stand and hand out if we need to, or have a stand, so I
They're first
volunteer
with
for that.
Memorial Day.
we appreciate that, and I think too that I would like to be there and just have, my deal is I would just go from table to table and just keep that going, because people come and go, and if you did it at a moment, you'd miss
Right.
80% of people, so. you know,
But maybe
just-
we can coordinate on that.
Yeah, keep going, fantastic. But with the flock camera recommendation, are there any objections here from this, for this committee going forward to make a recommendation to the city?
I think it should be on the agenda.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a yes, and we will move forward with that. Thank you all so very much for your time and effort. I know that a lot of us have other things we like to do, like lunch. And we will get a follow-up email to you to let you know, to sort of summarize. And please respond to any of that as you feel fit, and we'll be in touch. Yeah, and I'll send a copy of this to everybody, and we'll send list of the next meeting, and it'll probably be in about 90 days. So we'll.
Thank you, Tom.
So thank you all very much. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Tom.